Introducing the reigning, defending, inside fighting host, Robby Clark.
Drakkar, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. I'm happy you and your wife, or wife-to-be, are the first two guests, which is, pretty cool. And Drakkar's been fighting in the UFC for quite a while now. You got an impressive 5-2 record and a 11-2 record overall. And you've been fighting now since 2011. So, man, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So, and it's an honor to be your second guest.
Yeah, well, we gave it up to the Queen first, and then had you. No, but I was awesome, man. Danny was great, and I really appreciate him helping set this up as well too. So, really appreciate it, man. So obviously we'll get into it. I mean, obviously everybody was looking forward to the last fight. You had a huge fight booked with Jeremy Stephens. Unfortunately, that didn't go through. But when are you thinking you're going to be ready to fight again, or when are your plans for that?
Right now I'm just taking it day by day. I worked out for the first time the other day, and I started getting headaches again. So I'm just trying to just chill and just let my brain relax. Okay. So, but I want to get back in there like around August, September, just depending on how my head feels. I don't want to try to rush anything and, cause more damage. So
I think, man, and you haven't taken a lot of damage in your career too, which is really good. So I think, that's something I think a lot of fighters can learn from as well too. Like I was happy you just said that, because a lot of fighters, especially back in the day, used to try to get into fighting and training so quickly after. You see NFL, that's a big problem where, they get hurt and then it's out. No, they got to be out there the next week, right? Because they got a short season. So really glad to hear you're taking that time just to rest and recover, right? So.
Yeah, man, because you only get one brain, and I'm starting to think about, I got a son, so I got to think about him. You know what I mean? Like, I love fighting, but it's going to end one day. So I'd rather have my brain still intact. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. I hear that. So if you're coming back August to September, is there did you want to get back in there with Jeremy? Do you care who you fight against? I know, like, for better or worse, that built anticipation around that bout or any fight that you have now. I feel like that could obviously be a headliner on a fight night or something. So what are your thoughts on who you want to fight coming back?
No, I would love to fight Jeremy. If he's willing to wait that long, and it just depends on him. If he's willing to wait, even if he fights, maybe we can fight after his fight. So, but I would love to get back in there with him and squash this and settle this little beef.
Yeah. Now what? And with Khabib retiring now, what are your thoughts now on the top 5 of the fighters at the lightweight division? I know it's kind of opened up a bit. We've got Oliveira, which is nice. It was nice to see him finally get a title shot there. What are your thoughts on some of the top 5 and how that's opened things up?
Yeah, I'm excited for Oliveira. I think he deserves it. You know what I mean? He's been putting in the work and winning. It kind of sucked that it took Khabib to retire for him to get a chance to fight. But I think he's going to go in there and get the job done. But as the division, it kind of sucks because it's always the same people fighting. Guys like me would never get a chance if these guys just keep fighting and they don't want to fight down. So, I was planning on going to 45, after my last fight, after I had beat Jeremy, but so I think I'm gonna try to do one more at 55 and go down to 45 and try to make a little title run there.
Yeah, like I said, the one silver lining that you got to try to look for in situations like this, like I was telling Courtney before, I'm a black belt in the Sherdog forum, so I've been creeping those for a long time, right? And you've gotten a lot more attention and sympathy. I know you don't care about that side of it, but it has brought a little more attention to who you are, and I know there's going to be a lot more people paying attention to your next fight, no matter who it is. So you said 145. I didn't know if I had heard that before, but what is your walk around weight right now?
Right now, I woke up this morning 178, and I normally, when I started my first camp, I was at 207. So, Yeah. Thanks to Courtney, you know what I mean? She's been cooking all my meals and making sure, I eat the right things. But just trying to stay disciplined and not blow up and, be more professional. So I think I can make it as long as, I just stick to my strict diet and no cheat days like I normally do. So
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you have any cheat days right now, then that bodes well. If you cut out the cheat days, you might be able to make it. And you've seen some guys I know, like all those come down from 140, 145, and people used to say there's no way he should be fighting at 155, right? So you've seen a lot of those guys. Barboza, who looked huge at lightweight, now he's down at 145. And honestly, I don't think a lot of people realize how big some of these fighters are. Like I think Poirier is a big boy too, right? And
yeah, he's pretty big.
yeah, so I mean, no, that'd be exciting. And the cool thing about you, I mean, with the wrestling background, you can compete with anybody in the division, right? So I always feel like especially fighters like you, like there's no easy, nobody's gonna have an easy fight against you, period, right? So when you're there, and this is why the Jeremy Stevens was a cool thing to see, because you're always like, I know you say the guys don't like to fight down or whatever, but you're 1 or 2 wins away from those, that title fight always, because they know they can put you in there with anybody and you're going to compete, right? So it's cool to see that. And that's who would you want to fight? Do you think that you would go down to 145 now, or would you want to stay at 155 for one more fight?
I would like to stay at 55, one more fight, and then try that 45. But I'm not sure who I would want to fight first at 45. Probably a striker, something more striking, just to see if the speed difference, because I know those guys are going to be a lot faster. I know I'm pretty fast, so maybe it just equal out, and I can still dominate.
Now, what are your thoughts on mental warfare going into to a fight? You're always pretty zoned in going in, but is that something do you just kind of not pay attention to that, or is that?
I mean, after a certain level, there's no such thing as mental warfare. We're both tough, you know what I mean? We're both willing to go in there and give it our all. So I think with Jeremy doing that push, it was unnecessary. You know what I mean? Like I'm not scared of you. You know what I mean? All you have to do is wait 23 hours, and then we're gonna go in there and fight. And I think that was a bitch move. You know what I mean? He showed his cards by doing that. You know what I mean? I had him exactly where I wanted him. He was gonna fight emotional, and we knew that. And I was just gonna capitalize on that. Just use his aggression to finish him.
Yeah. I mean, you led right into my my next point there, where you read ahead of it. But I was going to say, did you think Jeremy was trying to get in your head, or it was just the heat of the moment kind of situation where you guys were up close? Because you didn't say anything, did you? Or
No, I didn't say anything. I think he just knew. I know, he's on a 4 or 5 losing streak. He knew this was his last chance, and the only way for him to beat me is to get me angry and fight with emotion. And I knew that going into the fight. That's the only way he could beat me, is if I, kind of like the Benil fight, if I let my guard down and just throw caution to the wind. And I was strong mentally going into that fight. I felt 100% going into that fight. Actually, I felt the best ever going into that fight. So I think he just knew he was going to lose that fight, and he had to show his. I know he has small dick syndrome, so he just had to go in there and do something a little crazy. So.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say on the weigh-ins, you never know; it's not always there. But you look to be in great shape, like heading into that fight, right? And to his credit, he looked to be in good shape as well, too. And he's fought some really tough guys, so it would have done. He's on a skid sometimes, but you know how it is there, that the everybody's tough in the UFC, and
Yep.
you're not. There's no easy fights, and that's why you're always a couple wins away from there, because especially when you've had a few fights in the UFC and they're giving you those fights, it's clear. Even just giving you a Jeremy Stevens fight, that's a platform fight, right?
Yep.
Because people know him because he's been around so long. So hopefully that materializes, and if it doesn't, like I said, I know that You creep in the forums, you got a lot more fans
Yeah.
from that.
What kind of sucks about that is because leading up to the face-off, you know, I had seen him at the UFC PI, and we're like, hey, what's up? How you doing? You know what I mean? So I didn't think anything of it, you know what I mean? And then we come to weigh-ins, and he comes with a whole totally different approach, you know what I mean? Like, if you had beef with me, when I seen you on Tuesday, you should have said something to me, you know what I mean? Don't be like, hey, how you doing? Keep that same energy at Tuesday, you know what I mean? Like, it was just bull crap.
Yeah. No, that's it's good. It's a fair point there. So what do you think? Like, as you say, you want to move down to featherweight after. What do you think your path to the belt would be? Whether it's at lightweight or then featherweight?
I think featherweight is a lot easier because, you know what I mean. It's never the same guys really fighting each other. You know, besides, you know, Max and you know those three, you know, top three. But you know, I think I put two good wins together. I think I can get a title shot.
Like, I know we touched on this a little bit, but what are you looking for when you go into the fight? Is it just to get the win? I mean, you're typically exciting no matter who you're fighting, but are you looking to go in there to win? I know you said against Barnoush you just wanted to have an exciting fight. What are your thoughts leading into a fight and how you want to perform?
When I go into a fight, you know, I try to dictate everything that happens. Like, I try to dictate knowing when I'm gonna get hit. You know what I mean? Like, if I can pressure someone, I know when they're gonna throw a strike or anything like that. So, you know, I just try to just control the fight from, you know, start to finish, and you know, just get the victory, either by knockout, submission. Even though I've never even went for a submission attempt, but I'm gonna try it one of these days.
And do you you know, to build on that, do you do any visualization before the fight? Do you believe in that, or do you like, what are your thoughts in the locker room before going out? Is that a lot of it, or?
I really I sometimes like do a little visualization, but you know, like I tell Courtney, like, it's a fight, anything could happen. So I don't try to script anything out. I just think of the worst things that could happen and try to, you know, fight from that. So I just go in there and just I have a game plan, but I know, like, at the end of the day, it's like, do anything possible to get the win.
Yeah, because that's, you know, it's funny you said that. A lot of fighters, like, I always wonder with that because, you know, going in, I don't think people understand the pressure that really goes on, especially in fights more than any other sport. Like, you can play a sport and get nervous. You go into fight, it's a real deal. So some fighters, you know, think about the worst thing that can happen to them, and they go, okay, and then they build from there. And other fighters kind of like to block it out. So you think about the worst thing that could happen, and then you're like, okay, and that kind of frees you from there to be ready and focused.
Yep. So I don't know. It's just you know, I try not to get hit. So, you know, if I can pressure him and I know when that punch is gonna come, you know, I try to just back out. But no game plan, but just fighting off reactions and just whatever happens in the fight.
So out of your 7 UFC fights you've had so far, what was your, you know, was it your UFC debut, or what was your most exciting or memorable moment you've had in the UFC so far?
Oh man, I would have to say when I fought Mark Diakese. I think that was fun. Like, from the first day it was announced to after I got my hand raised. I think that was because as soon as it was announced, you know, Mark was talking shit to me, and you know, we were going back and forth on Twitter and stuff like that. And then leading into fight week, and you know, we're getting into it in the lobby, at weigh-ins, and then, you know, after I got my hand raised, you know, I try to talk a little trash to him, and I don't know, it was fun. It was fun.
So you enjoy that aspect of fighting? I know some guys they try to stay out of that altogether, but do you enjoy? Does it give you extra motivation to have a little bit of drama there, and or you have fun with the back and forth?
I do, like, you know, I do like that because, you know, I grew up with a lot of family. There's 7 of us, So me and my brothers and sisters, we would always talk shit to each other and joke around. So I love joking. So to me, it's joking, but then you have to go in there and back it up. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and that's what I like because that gives me extra motivation to train. Like, oh, okay, he thinks he's gonna beat me, so I'll work a little bit harder. Not saying I don't work hard like when they don't talk shit, but just it get a little bit more fire.
It's that round for those fourth and fifth, like the end of training sessions when you think about it. Now, what is your training schedule like? How many days a week are you training when you're not in fight camp, and then when you're in fight camp?
Normally, 6 to 7 days a week, at least doing something. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be hard, but pretty much every day doing something when I'm in fight camp.
Do a couple training sessions a day to
Uh, Normally three to two a day, and then like Sunday, just one hard workout, like a more of a cardio day.
Nice, man. And you said, so I know you said probably August, September, you may look to come back and fight. You're going to heal up. What is your Drakkar's 1 year game plan? If you had 1 year, my road to get into that top 5 or to the belt, what's the 1 year game plan look like for you?
Oh man, every time I do that, something happens and I end up don't fighting for that whole year. So, I thought this year was going to be my year. I had the fight in February, it fell out because of COVID. Then I had this fight and it fell out. But just get better, be a better me. I've changed a lot in my life, and I just want to keep growing and learning. That's about it.
And do you think about I know in a previous interview leading up to Jeremy, you talked about, not so much focusing on the belt, one, because there has been it seems like a, traffic jam at the lightweight belt to get a title fight. Do you kind of put that off to the side now and just go, look, I want to be the best fighter I can be? Or do you, obviously you want to fight for that belt at some point, would be a dream, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it would be a dream to fight for that belt, but I got to sit down and be real with myself sometimes. You know what I mean, and just look at how things are. It's a business. You know what I mean. If, I can win 7 in a row, but if I'm not putting seats or people in the seats, I'm not gonna fight for that. You know what I mean. So I don't know what I have to do to make that change. Maybe get some finishes. Come out with a sex tape. I don't know, but
that would do it. Honestly, like I said, not that it's a good thing, but I know you got a lot more fans and respect from over this past event. And so I'm sure it's going to be there. And one thing, I find is really cool with the consistent people. Like, if you take a look, like you're 33, but in terms of miles, like, I know you grew up in athletics. I know you're dealing with something right now, but you've not had a lot of injuries. You've not been, knocked out a bunch of times like a lot of these fighters. So like the wear and tear is a big thing on fighters. Like, one thing, the older UFC days, the guys actually were very good later in their career because UFC was so new. And it's cool to see that. I know Bisping obviously, showed, and he'd been fighting forever, but you got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's still he's looked better than ever. You know what I mean? He's what, 38, 30.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like, even like with DC, you know what I mean? He didn't start later into his career, you know what I mean? Like, yes, he had a lot of wrestling miles on him, but not MMA miles. So, taking hits. If he would have started younger in his career, he probably would have retired a lot earlier.
Yeah. No, DC's he's crazy, special athlete as well too, right? Yep. So what do you do now that you're taking some time out training? What do you do for fun outside of mixed martial arts?
Actually, just spend time with my son right now. Going to the parks, taking him to the zoo, just watching him grow, and that's about it, really. Just living that dad life.
Yeah, which is, I imagine a lot of fun. All my buddies who have started, families say, it really changed their life for the better. Puts a different perspective on things.
I'm definitely, I used to be a wild boy. You know what I mean? I went to 5 different colleges. You know what I mean? So that has to say something. You know what I mean? So, but it's awesome. To have a son and change my life. To better better him, you know what I mean, and better myself. So it's awesome.
Now, one thing I haven't heard anybody ask you before. What is your favorite discipline to train? Like, do you like them all, or do you go through phases? I know some people like, just doing pad work, wrestling drills. I've obviously done a ton of that. What's your favorite discipline to train, either right now or in general?
I really like jujitsu. You know, I kind of fell away from it, a couple years ago. I've been getting back into it heavily. So, after I'm done fighting, I wouldn't mind competing in some tournaments and, trying to actually one day get my black belt in that. I'm a purple belt now. I was a blue belt for like 7 years. So, so
It's a
yeah.
big jump from blue to purple. I actually trained at 10 Planet Jiu-Jitsu 2004 to 2006 with Eddie Bravo. He was doing Nogi at the time. But the people don't understand like the transition from blue to purple. It's a big jump. You said you stayed there for a while, and I'm sure you were probably tapping out some brown belts and stuff along the way, and black belts too, right?
I think it was more because, I stopped doing it. I would just, because I was so stuck into MMA, just MMA wrestling and stuff like that. So I stopped competing in jiu-jitsu. So, but I feel so much better, going back to jiu-jitsu. I think I actually gonna get a submission, so.
Yeah, now you can say that. You're going to be coming out and choking people out next fight. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. We were just talking before about how the Cowboys got a very underrated ground game. The people in there, know about it, but it's amazing because if the amount of disciplines you guys got to train, it's like, my jiu-jitsu is actually really good. People wouldn't know that about you, but it's I bet you in the gym you're tearing it up, right? So
Yeah.
I heard you say before you're not sure if you would want to be coaching. Is that something like when decade from now or whenever 5, 8, 10 years from now, is that something you would look to do at all, or any coaching when your fighting career is over?
I don't know, man. I think I would only be able to coach like troubled kids, like I don't know, because I was a troubled kid, like grew up poor and stuff like that. Because my mom was my first wrestling coach, and my mom would be like, "You're a pussy, let's go!" Like, your brother's better than you. Like, tell me stuff like that. So it was like tough, hard love. You know what I mean? And kids these days they're pretty soft. So I won't be able to talk to them how I want to like to push them. So.
That's great. Are you gonna keep your son? I know he mimics you in the gym. Are you gonna get him into wrestling in different aspects, or what are your thoughts on that?
I kind of want to just let him choose what he wants. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad he's around it, but I would never want him to be a fighter because, dude, there's no money in this. You know what I mean? You dedicate your whole life. You know what I mean? And a lot of fighters aren't gonna have anything to show at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And it kind of sucks. But I would want him to hit the books hard. Learn, be educated. Be a Dana White. You know what I mean? Where you don't have to get punched. You pay these guys to get punched, and you collect all the money. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. The one thing though that the UFC does well is it does give you guys a platform, which I think sometimes even when it's done. That's why I say coaching a lot. Like if you look at seminars and things like that, can be quite a grind, but it does give you a platform for I say like business is a topic like anything else. You got to be in it. If you're an expert in fighting, and that I love athletes so much because you're like the transition into business is actually for top athletes is something that they're actually much better at, or can be much better at than a lot of them give themselves credit for. Because if you hit the top of one thing, you can be the top of anything, right? And a lot of successful business people are failed athletes, and that's the truth, right? They wish they would be an athlete. Dana, the same thing. He's very successful in business, but no doubt he wanted to be a boxer before he was opened the gym and he was successful there. So there's definitely some transitions there, but no, that's cool, man. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Now, if you had two opponents at lightweight or featherweight now that you could fight, who would they be?
Oh, I want to fight David Tamar. One of my losses. I want to fight him again. I wouldn't mind fighting what's Khabib's homie? I don't know his name, but that guy.
Yeah, he's and wrestler too. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
super impressive in his last fight because he was coming off a long layoff, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Like he had a fight schedule and then got injured. I just wouldn't mind just getting there and just seeing like what the hype is about. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't mind just going to grapple with Khabib and just seeing. I just want to feel that strength, and you know what I mean, because he just ragdoll a lot of these guys, and I just want to feel it. You know?
Well, yeah, in that chain wrestling, I think what he's so good at, like a lot of good wrestling, because you've never been out wrestled in the UFC, and he seems to go from transition to transition to transition so well. And yeah, so on that, who like in the training room, because you get the ability to train with so many different guys, who in your weight class or above is the most impressive person you've trained with before?
Like grappling wise, or just MMA?
Uh, MMA in general.
Oh, definitely Benson Henderson. You know what I mean? I train with him. I got to give a lot of praise to him because he's helped me become the fighter who I am, and I look up to him a lot. So he's definitely one of the top guys.
Yeah, and Benson, for those who don't know, he's an OG in the fight game too, former lightweight, UFC. If you don't know who he is, you're not a real fight fan. But
Yeah.
he's something else. He's a special athlete as well too, and always super competitive with anybody.
He's a workhorse, man. His cardio is it's crazy, man. Like I've seen him spar like 15 rounds just back to like nonstop. He's crazy.
That's crazy. And his wife she's a jiu-jitsu practitioner, right? She's not MMA, but she does jiu-jitsu, or
she actually had her first MMA fight not too long ago.
Oh, amazing.
So she's yes. So she's transitioned to MMA. I think she has another fight coming up. So
nice, man. And I asked Courtney this question, but like I know I said, do you enjoy being on the same fight card or being in training camp together? Would you prefer not to overlap at all, or what are your thoughts on that, being a fighter couple?
Oh man, I know she wouldn't like it because some of her weight cuts are kind of hard, and she says she thinks she has to deal with me like, oh, I have to take care of you, but I'm a big boy. But no, before we start dating, we fought on the same card in Detroit, and it was funny because I was on weight, and I went to her room in the morning and I had coffee in my hand, and she's in the sauna and she seen me, and she just started crying because she still had to cut weight. So I was just laughing.
So,
but I wouldn't mind fighting on the same card.
So how much weight are you cutting like the final week of a fight? And this is something, a lot of people, I'm always, every MMA fan going in, it's like, I wonder what they weigh tonight. Cause you get like, Usman, doesn't make sense how he even makes 170. And then he looks 220 by the time he fights. What is your week leading into a fight? What is your weight? And then on fight night, what do you typically weigh?
This one I showed up at 176. So that's 20 pounds. The night before, so Thursday, I was 11 pounds over. So I cut 11 pounds the night before weigh-ins.
And then on fight night, you're back up to one.
Oh, after this one I had checked because I was a little heavier than I normally, because when I went to the hospital, they gave me IVs. But when I stepped on the scale, I was 189.
Wow. So you'll go a little heavier, like you're about 175, 180 fight time.
Yeah. I know when I fought Mark Diakese, I stepped in the cage the next day at 185.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot.
But it's been like when I did that, I felt real bloated. But the last couple fights, like around 176. So 20 pounds.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's something would be really fun. Everybody always wants to know what they weigh on fight day, right? And I even think for the opponents. Let me ask you something, like, because you've been in some decisions. Obviously, they've typically they've gone your way. What What do you feel about live scoring? Like if they were to actually show, because the judges, nobody knows what the judges are thinking ever, right? And we can't seem to figure that one out. Would you be for or against live judging where it shows you, hey, who's up and who's down during the fight?
I would like that, but then it would kind of suck because if someone knows they're up 2 rounds, they might just try to coast that third one just to win. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It has its pros and its cons in that aspect. So,
What are your thoughts on judging now that we're on that? Do you do you think something needs to change there? Should they get former UFC fighters, or what are your thoughts on how judging's going right now?
oh man, lately the judging has sucked. Um, I think that the judges should be interviewed, and I think every fighter should know, like, be interviewed so they know leading into the fight, like, okay, I got these 3 judges. I know what they score heavily on. So you can actually like kind of change up your fight, and you know what I mean? Like, because I just hate when people say don't leave it up to the judges. It's like, well, why is the judges even there then? It's either you win or it's a draw. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's easy to say that when you're not in the ring against another guy who's hearing the same thing. It's like, oh, fight one of the top 10 fighters in the world and don't leave. Okay, yeah, thanks, right? So
Yeah.
it seems like a weird thing to say. So we got your 2 lightweight fighters. If you want to make a transition to featherweight, who are the 2 guys you would like to test yourself against, or a couple guys?
I wouldn't. I like Max. I wouldn't mind fighting Max, just to get in there with him. He's one of the best to do it. Who else who's a heavy hitter down there?
You got the champ.
He's a little guy.
But he used to weigh 220 or something like that in his rugby days. He was like 225, but yeah.
He's like 5'2" or something like that. He's pretty small.
But yeah, I think 5'4", 5'6". I think he's
he's a little guy. I don't know, just whoever's exciting. You know what I mean? Like right now, that division, it's hard to even think of those guys because they're always moving. You know what I mean? I know Max. I wouldn't mind fighting Max. I think that'd be a fun fight.
Yeah, you made a good point, because I think even with what you're saying, you could probably make, if you're really disciplined, 145, and it's a pretty open division, like you said. You have a lot of big names in like you can compete anywhere with anybody, especially because your wrestling background and you got great stand-up. So that's not the issue, but the 145 is more open because you don't have that lock jam with Connor fighting Dustin. If he wins, I'm sure he'll want a title fight. If Dustin wins, of course, he's going to want a title fight there. And you got Oliveira versus Chandler. You got Oliveira taking that?
Yeah. I hope he wins, man. Like, I respect Chandler, but it's like I don't think he deserves it. You know what I mean? He beat one guy, and now he gets a title shot. But I understand. You know what I mean? He just came from Bellator. He was the champ. You got to sell tickets. You know what I mean? And he's gonna do it. So you might as well push him while he's still hot. And but I hope Oliveira wins.
Yeah, you brought up a good point too, because the fighters in there know, but like when you have a quick fight like that, like he had against Dan Hooker, it actually tells less about the fight than anything. A fan will be like, whoa, he won in like a minute. But the fighters are like, yeah, that told us less than if he went, if he won in the second round or something. We don't really know. It's a punch. He was cold. Anything can happen.
Yep. Yeah. And I think Hooker, he came out like, he didn't look like he normally looks. You know what I mean? Maybe that, I think would he fight Felder before that? I believe. So I think that fight could have took something off his life. You know what I mean? Because that was a war. So he definitely wasn't the same fighter.
Yeah, and I'm a big Hooker fan, but he's definitely had a few wars for sure. Barboza, he's had some very exciting fights, right?
Yep.
All right, man. No, I appreciate this. I wanted to give you a minute. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or bring up in the fight game or anything?
No, not really. I just hopefully Jeremy, you know what I mean? Like hopefully we get in there and get to duke it out because, dude, I got a lot of anger right now. So, I'm just pissed off about that whole situation, how it went down. You know what I mean? Like that was a cheap shot. You know what I mean? I had my hands behind my back. You know, leading up to it, he was all cool, and then don't act crazy to at weigh-ins. But it is what it is. I just got to heal up from that, and I'll get back in there.
Well, I'm hoping, yeah, and I think they'd be smart if he gets in another fight. If anything, he seemed pretty durable to keep fighting. So if he gets in another fight either way and can come out of that or win, it'd be really nice to have you guys headline a fight night. I honestly think, just looking around, like that's a headliner on a fight night to me, and I think a lot of people now, and I think that'd be really cool to see. And like I said, would be the silver lining. So I'll write somebody and try to get people going in to try and do something to get that. That's a
because I know they offered him a couple guys and he turned them down. So I know he didn't want to fight those guys because he's scared to get beat up. But
did he reach out to you at all?
No. That's a good thing. It is what it is. You know what I mean? He knows it was a bitch move. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate your perspective on it. Is there any sponsors or anything anybody you want to thank? Or
I want to thank you for, you know what I mean? It's an honor to be a second guest. I wish nothing but the best for you. Continue doing what you're doing. 8-man, RX Water, and just my family.
I really appreciate that, man. If you have Danny send over an address, we can ship over some Canadian products to you. We'll get them out to you for sure. So tell them to shoot us an email or Adam an email or myself, and I'll make sure we get the craft and anything else that we have up here that you guys don't down there, so you can during your rest period eat that up so you can cut it all back in training camp.
Yeah, thank you. We'll Venmo you some cash. So
amazing. It's all good. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Enjoy your vacation. Have fun with the family. Rest, relax. If the borders open up here, I'll be sure I'll come to your next fight, and I'm excited for you, man. You've got some big things on the horizon, I'm sure. So best of luck, and we'll see you back in there soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a great one.
Awesome. You too.